So this unit, we are going to also be talking about measurements and why it is important to understand what measurements we're using. We're going to talk about the SI system and explain why it's important. And we're also going to be converting measurements into different units. Okay, so as we go, as I kind of walk through these slides, make sure you're jotting down the notes. You can get the notes that are attached to Schoology, or there was a link to the notes that are in this actual activity. If you don't want to print those notes, or if you don't want to type into the notes or use Kami to edit the PDF, then make sure you're writing down in your notebook as we go along. And if you need to pause or go back some, that's totally fine. You can do that as you go through the presentation. So it's important that we know just some basic types of measurements. So I'm sure you've heard these terms before: length, volume, mass, temperature. But it's important to know what these actually mean because we're going to be using these scientific terms, these vocabulary terms, more often than we're going to be using their descriptions. Length, you probably already know the distance between objects. That's fairly simple. You can say how long something is. We're talking about the size. Volume, it's the amount of space that something takes up. Okay, so when we're actually measuring, the volume of a liquid, we're measuring how much space that liquid is taking up. And we have some different units. We have, milliliters, liters. Okay, so length can be lots of things. We can measure in meters, inches. You're used to measuring like that. Mass is kind of like weight. It's just the amount of matter that's in an object. So instead of using the term weight in science, we're going to use the term mass, but it's basically the same thing. And then temperature is the amount of energy, kinetic energy, in an object. Okay, so just make sure you have these definitions written down. We have some other measurements that we'll kind of talk about as we go throughout the semester, but we're really going to focus just on a few of these today. So what is the SI system? The SI system is basically just kind of this national, worldwide system that we use for units or for measuring things in general. It's called SI because it's really a French term for System International. We call it the International System or the SI system. But it's in English, when we're measuring things, we use inches and feet. And that's a lot of numbers that we have to remember. There's 12 inches in a foot. There's 3 feet in a yard, 5,280 feet in a mile. When we're doing weight, it's 16 ounces in a pound. If you're measuring liquids, you can say 4 quarts in a gallon. So there's all these units. I still, I can't always remember how many cups are in a quart and all of that. Anyways, so there's just a lot of numbers and different units that you have to remember. So the SI system is a little bit different. In the SI system, where everything is based on the number 10. And so everything is easier to convert. You're not having to remember, 12 and 1 or 4 and 2 and all these different numbers. Everything is based off of 10. So here's the chart that you're going to fill in. Okay, so in English or, in America, we use we should specify it's America because in Great Britain, they do use the SI system. Length, we use things like yards, inches. Well, the SI system is a meter. Okay, for mass, we use things like, or weight, we use things like ounce or pound. Really, in the SI system, it's grams. It should be liters for volume. For temperature, we're mainly going to use Celsius, but sometimes we'll use Kelvin. And then luckily time is measured the same everywhere, so it's still a second. Okay, but these are, this is important to know because these are the units that we will use in this class. If you ever measure anything in this class, we're never going to use inches. We're never going to use ounces. We're always going to use the SI system, like meters, grams, things like that. Okay. There are some prefixes that's important to know as we go into kind of converting, just like when we convert, if you were going to convert inches to a foot, we're actually changing the units because we're using the SI system. It's basically built so that you have your root word, like meter, and then whichever prefix you put in front of that, that's going to change how many meters you have. And I'll kind of show you what I mean by that here in just a minute. So this is how we can specify like how many, the amount is by using these prefixes. So you have a spot in your notes just to kind of jot down what these, the names of these prefixes. Make sure you also include their symbol because when we are writing them, we're hardly ever going to write the full word. We'll write things like just the symbol. So like if I was saying centimeters, that's why it's cm. C for centi, m for meters. Okay. So how can we convert between these different units? We're going to use what's called the ladder method. So you have a blank ladder on your notes. So we're just going to fill in everything here. So in our center, our basic unit, we have these, our main units that we're talking about, meters, liters, and grams. Okay, we're going to just kind of focus on those three base units for today. If I kind of move over to the left, I can see I have deca. This is a prefix. So deca is basically like 10 meters. Okay, so it's 10 of 1 meter. Okay, 10 of my basic units. Hecto is 100. Kilo is 1,000. Okay, we won't really use hecto and deca very much. We're gonna kind of stick to kilo, deci, centi, milli. Hecto and deca aren't very common, but you will see those, maybe in the future sometime. So deci, this is a tenth. So this is a decimal. So this is just like a tenth of one basic unit. So a tenth of 1 meter. Centi is 100, and milli is 1,000th. Okay, so you can just see how we're still in units of 10. Really all we're doing is just kind of moving our decimal around. Okay, so let's look at, I'm just gonna skip over this right here. I'm gonna go straight into a practice problem here. Okay, so these are the ones that are under your notes where it says teacher-led practice. So you're just kind of watching me. You're writing down as I'm writing down. You're welcome to move ahead or try it ahead of me if you want to. But I'm going to kind of work through these slowly. If you understand what to do and you want to move on to the next practice section, that's fine. But I am going to work through these 6 kind of slowly just so we all kind of see how to do this. So if I'm starting in this case with milligrams, okay, I have an M, okay, M for milli. So it might help, I don't know if you want to underline or go back and write like your prefixes. The deca is a capital D. Deci is a lowercase d. Okay, so there's my prefixes. So if I have mg, here I'll write my basic units here in the middle. Okay, that means I'm starting at milli and I'm trying to go to grams. So what I'm going to do is first thing I'm going to do is find out where my decimal point is. So in this number, my decimal point, remember, is at the end. If you can't see it, it's always at the end because you have a whole number. So if I'm starting at milli and I'm trying to go to grams, I'm just going to count how many steps it takes me to get there. So 1, 2, 3. Because here's my grams. So it took me 3 steps. That means I'm going to move my decimal place 3 places in the same direction that I jumped. So 1, 2, 3. So that's where my new decimal will be. So my answer is just 1.000 or 1. Okay, let's look at the next one. So let me erase this right here. Okay, so the next one, I'm starting at liter and I'm going to milliliter. So remember, I need to find my decimal. I know it's right after the 1 because it's a whole number. So I'm starting here at the basic unit. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, all the way to milli. Okay. That was 3 steps. So I'm going to move my decimal 3 places. And since I'd moved to the right, I'm going to move my decimal to the right. So there's 3. And then these little baskets, I'm going to fill up with like a little goose egg here with my 0. So now my number is 1000, and then remember my decimal is right here. So my answer is just 1,000. Let's look at the next one. Again, my decimal point is right here because I have a whole number. I'm going from centimeters to meters to milliliters, centimeters to millimeters. So I'm going to start here at centi, and I'm going to jump over here to milli. I just went 1 space to the right, so I'm going to move my decimal 1 space to the right. I'm going to put my little goose egg in there. So my answer is 1,600. Notice this decimal that was right here is no longer there, right? It's gone because it's moved to the end. Okay, you don't have to write the decimal at the end because remember, if it's at the end of the number, you can be invisible. It's just up to you. If it helps you to write it because that's, how it looks, that's fine. Okay, let's look at the next one. So let me erase here. So I have kilometers just to meters. Okay, so my decimal I know is at the end of the number. I'm starting at kilo, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Because remember, here's my basic meters. So I jumped 3 places to the right, so I'm going to move my decimal 3 places. I'm going to fill in each of my egg baskets. And so my answer is 14,000, 14,000. Okay, let's look at the next one. I'm going from grams to kilograms. Remember, my decimal's always at the end. So I'm starting with grams. Here's grams. I'm going to kilo. So 1, 2, 3. 3 steps. So that means I'm going to move my decimal 3 steps to the left. 1, 2, 3. There's my new decimal. So my new number is 0.109. Okay, the next one, I'm going from meters to kilometers. Let me erase. My decimal is at the end of the number. I'm starting at meters. 1, 2, 3 to kilometers. 1, 2, 3. There's my new decimal. 0.250. Okay, kilometers. So all you're doing is you're just going to count your steps. Okay, and then move the decimal the same direction. That's the key. A lot of times people forget same direction. Okay, if you jump to the right, move your decimal to the right. All right, so what I'm going to do here is You're going to get some more practice as you on this page. You don't have to necessarily do these right here on the notes page, because you're going to get practice on the other pages of this online activity. What I am going to do is I'll go through and work these. I'll kind of work through them a little bit faster, but I'll work through them. So if you need more practice, or if you feel like you need to watch some more, you can watch these. If you feel comfortable with what you've already done and you're ready to get going and get started on your own individual practice, then that's fine. You can go ahead and do that. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I don't have my little blocks, is I'm just going to write them. Let me get a different color. So one way you can remember this is King Henry died, and then I say unusually drinking chocolate milk. Okay, unusually that's where my like grams, meters, and liters are going to go, my basic units. Okay. So same thing, 2,000, where's my decimal? Right here. I'm going from milli to grams. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. There's my new decimal. So my new answer is just 2.000. Okay. Next one, 15. There's my decimal. I'm going from liters to milliliters. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going 3 steps to the right, and I'm going to fill in each little basket. So you get 5,000. Okay. Number, I'm just going across. I know it's not really in order. Sorry. 16, here's my decimal. We're going from centimeters to millimeters. That's just 1 to the right, 1 to the right. Fill in my goose egg. 160. Next one, here's my decimal. I'm going from kilometers to meters, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Notice I went the same direction. Fill in my goose eggs. 104,000. Okay, 198, there's my decimal. I'm going from grams to kilograms. So remember, here's my grams in the middle. 1, 2, 3. I went to the left, so 1, 2, 3. My new answer, 0.198. In this case, here's my decimal right at the end. I'm going from meters to kilometers. So here's my meters. 1, 2, 3. 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. 3 to the left. 2.5. You can write the 0, 0 if you want to. Okay, next row. Here's my decimal. I'm going from centimeters to meters. 1, 2. 2 to the left. 1, 2. 4.80. 75 milliliters to liters. There's my decimal. 1, 2, 3. 3 to the left. 1, 2, 3. 3 to the left. My new answer is 0.075. Okay, notice because I put my 0 in my little basket. All right, my decimal's at the end of the number, grams to milligrams. 1, 2, 3. To the right, 1, 2, 3. Fill in my baskets. 65,000. Kilograms to grams. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Same direction. I went to the right. In this case, the decimal was in the middle of my number. It was right here. I don't have to draw anything. I don't have to put anything at the end. I'm going to start where that decimal is. And then I just went 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. So my new number is 5,600. Okay, here's my decimal. Centimeters to meters. 1, 2. 1, 2. So 0.50. Next one, centimeters to millimeters. Okay, notice I have an mm, that's millimeters. So that's just one to the to the right, sorry. One to the right. There's my new decimal. So my answer is just 63. For number 14, here's my decimal. I'm going from millimeters to centimeters. Mm is millimeters. So that's just one to the left. 0.8. Meters to centimeters. Whoops. That just started in millimeters. So it's just one M, so it's just meters. So 1, 2. That's 2 to the right. 1, 2. Fill in my basket. 560. Last but not least, I have milligrams to grams. So 1, 2, 3. Here's my decimal. 1, 2, 3. 0.120. Okay, so I always found my decimal. I just count my jumps, and however many I jump, that's the number that I go in the same direction. Okay. And then here I can't remember if all of those are right. Okay, so next what you can do, or what you're going to do, is there on the next page of your activity, there is a like a electronic like simulation game, I'll say. It will check your answers. So if you need some more practice, if you feel, I think I suggest you do that. I think actually before the game, there's some practice problems that you're going to do first, and then you can check your answer. So do the practice problems first. Sorry, I forgot what order they come in. There's a purple box. You can check your answers. If you got most of them right, then, that's good. If you didn't get very many of them right, if you still feel like you're struggling, come back and watch this video, especially maybe those second set of problems that I worked. And then make sure you check out this electronic simulation. It says it's optional. Okay. If you feel like you need just a little bit extra practice, this is a great way because it will, like I said, check your answer for you. So if you're getting it right, it will tell you. If you're getting it wrong, it will let you know. So that way you can kind of judge how you're doing. And then the last page is just some practice problems that I'm actually going to look at to see if you're getting right or wrong. Please do not Google those. I want to know how, who still needs some more help on this. If you're Googling the answers, I don't know if you need help. I'm just going to assume that you knew it. And then when it comes time for the test, if you don't do so well, I won't know why. So make sure you just do your best. Hopefully this shouldn't take you too long, and just message me if you have any questions.